And we're live. Welcome everyone to another episode of Zoom Out by Sprint Agile. Today I have the pleasure of having Orod Semsarzadeh here. Orod is my friend and he is an Agile coach. He's an accredited Kanban trainer and has been working with us at Sprint Agile in the past few years, running safe trainings and we're doing a lot of Agile coaching and consulting. Welcome, Orod.
Thanks, Arash. It's a pleasure to be here, and it's good that I can see you still having your mustache.
No mustache. Yeah, unfortunately, man, your hair was quite a unique hair as well, which was quite
I
amazing.
know.
Yeah,
In last few years, I changed a lot, but you haven't changed. That's good.
haven't you? Yeah, yeah. Great. Thanks for being here, Orod. So today we're going to talk about Kanban. I am really interested in Kanban. Kanban is one of the frameworks that has piqued my interest and fascination quite a lot in the past few years because as agile coaches it's all about scrum. We go to
Mhm,
organizations and we talk about scrum, and that's our bread and butter all the time, almost all the time, quite a
mm.
lot of times. But once I learned about Kanban a few years ago, I figured out, wow, there's just so much in it, and there's so much we can learn from Kanban and Lean. So, yeah, can you tell us a little bit about Kanban to get started?
Uh, if I want to summarize Kanban in one line, I would say Kanban is an evolutionary change method that helps service delivery to deliver, the work to the customer better. So definitely Kanban is not an agile framework.
Hmm.
And I'm very, I'm keen to a little bit, focus on this one because I've noticed that a lot of people compare Kanban with Scrum and also keep saying Kanban is an agile framework. So I think that's something, we can talk a little bit about.
That's a great point you raised, actually, because David J. Anderson, if I'm not mistaken, the
Hmm.
name of the creator of Kanban, he is
Yeah,
not part of the Agile Manifesto and the group who came up with the Agile Manifesto, right?
that's right. No.
So tell me more. Tell me more. Why isn't
So
Kanban an
yeah,
Agile?
when we talk about agile frameworks, I think we need to first of all define what agile is and what framework is. So
Hmm.
agile is a manifesto, it's a statement. Okay, it's written by a few software developer 20 years ago. It has 4 values and 12 principles. So this is agile, right? And framework is so basically, we can say agile is a mindset. It's kind of a philosophy, right? And framework is help people or organization to, while it respect to agile, all those 4 values and principle, it helps them how to work. Okay, so
Hmm.
it's a frame of the work. So you work through that frame. It tells you how to work. So I always, um, say that, for example, just to clarify, imagine you vegetarianism, all right? So you want to be vegetarian, right? Vegetarianism, it's a mindset, it's a philosophy, it has some value, right? So we don't want to kill animal, we don't want to waste
Hmm.
water, it has some principles and values. I want to be vegetarian. I've never been vegetarian, right? So I don't know how to be vegetarian. I go to a doctor or nutrition or someone and say, hey, doctor, I want to be vegetarian. Can you help me? And then doctor prescribe me. You need to eat that much almond, this much bean, you eat this for
Hmm.
breakfast, that for lunch, stuff like that. So agile is like vegetarianism. And then, scrum masters, right? Or safe consultants like that doctor. And scrum or safe or any other frameworks, it's like the prescription, right?
Yes.
Kanban doesn't prescribe anything. Okay, so Kanban, unlike most of the framework, which have a revolutionary approach, right? Because they tell you how to work. So whatever you've done before, forget about it. From today, you work like that. Work
Hmm.
in 2 weeks sprint. You do sprint planning. You need to have a cross-functional team. They work autonomously. All those kind of stuff. And if you don't follow the prescription, then you're not following the doctor, you're not Scrum. Okay. Kanban, it's completely different. Kanban doesn't necessarily respect and limit itself to Agile Manifesto. Okay.
Mm.
And I probably make lots of enemy by saying that. But the outcome of Kanban improve agility in organization. So now we need to define what agility means, because people have probably different definition of agility, right? So the focus is agility, as my point of view, not being agile. Okay, because agile, 20 years ago, a few people written, sign it off. It has value at that time. It still have value, but I don't think we need to limit ourselves in that statement, which written 20 years ago, right? 20 years ago, there was no iPhone, there was no smartphone, no blockchain, right? A lot of things change in 20 years, but customer still exists. Customer have needs, and we need people to fulfill the needs, right? So now we need to, and that's the focus of Kanban. So now we need to define agility. So agility means deliver the work, the right work, to the right customer at the right time. And that takes a while, okay? It takes some time. And after that, you can pivot. So if you can reduce this time, so from when customer said, I want this, until we give it to the customer, right? We can improve the agility. And then
Yeah.
after that, we can change direction. And
And
Kanban can help
Kanban
you to achieve that.
has the potential of reducing it to 1 day.
That's the goal.
Yeah.
That's the goal. Yes.
So I love that metaphor of vegetarianism versus getting a prescription from a nutritionist. So if we want to expand that metaphor to Kanban, am I right to say Kanban is like eat healthy, have
Mhm.
some principles, don't have too much meat. If you want to have chicken, have organic free range chicken. Is it something like that?
So Kanban always start with, if you remember, I said Kanban is an evolutionary approach, right?
Hmm.
It's an evolutionary change management or change method,
Yes.
which means we always start from what you do now,
Hmm.
okay? And then we as
Visualize.
a group collectively agree what's the next step, how we want to work or how we want to do it. And then we write it down. So
Mhm.
probably you heard about, policies.
Yes.
So policies is what people agreed, and then we visualize the policies. Okay. So in this scenario, for example, you say, okay, what do you do now? You can say, I'm eating meat, but I don't like chicken. I don't know. I'm just making it up, right? Say,
Hmm.
okay, so this is how you live right now, right? So what is the next step that can help you, right, to become more vegetarian, right? Rather than from tomorrow, don't eat meat at all. Okay.
Yes.
So you can say, all right, I don't like meat, I don't like chicken. All right, so forget about chicken, but you still can have meat. Right?
Hmm.
When you're ready, then you go to the next step, because you evolve over time, and then you
Yeah.
go to the next maturity level,
Yes.
right?
And you
And
decide
while,
based on your guiding principles, you decide what the next step is, right?
yes,
The
yeah,
team.
yeah.
I,
And
and
regularly you review your policies. If it doesn't
yeah,
work, you change it. But we want to continuously improve.
yeah. That kind of brings me to another question that I had in mind, and I think this is quite key for people who want to understand Kanban and who want to do Kanban. One of the first things you do in Kanban is visualize your policies, or
Mm,
have those explicit, call out those explicit policies and put
mm,
them somewhere, visualize them.
mm,
What I see a lot of times happen in organizations is teams who want to do Kanban, all they do is just put up a board and that's it.
mhm,
And they
mm,
think they're doing Kanban. Or they say, well, we don't want to do Scrum because Scrum is too hard for us. We want to do Kanban. But
mm.
really, what you're saying is if you want to do Kanban, the first step for you is to agree what are your explicit policies and visualize those. Am I right?
I think the first step is to accept the current situation, whatever it is, right?
Yeah.
So you do Scrum, that's fine. You continue to do Scrum. Okay, that's fine. Okay. You do waterfall, that's still fine. You can do that. But just accept it, understand how you
Mhm.
work, right? That's the first step. And then Kanban help you to see the work as a flow, right? So Kanban help you to visualize the work and how work flow through the system. And that's why we call it workflow,
Mhm.
right? Because it visualize how work flow and move to the next step, right?
Mhm.
And we focus on knowledge work. So each step, we gain some knowledge. We
Mhm.
learn a little bit more about this one until we have enough knowledge to fulfill the requirement and say, okay, the work is done and give it to the customer. Another thing is quite interesting is that the Kanban, the meaning of Kanban as a terminology of Kanban, right? So Kanban
Um,
in Chinese means big board.
Japanese.
Or yeah. I'll get
Japanese.
to Japanese as well. So
Is it in
Kanban in
Chinese?
yeah in Chinese also has a meaning. In Chinese
Okay.
means looking at a board or big board, something like that. Okay. In Japanese means signal.
Yeah, pull
Okay.
signal.
What we normally understand in organization from Kanban is the Chinese version, which is
Mhm.
Kanban board, right? But the actual Kanban method influenced by the Japanese version, which is signal, right? So in Kanban, we always send the signal. So this signal shows that, okay, the capacity available and we're ready to pull the work.
Yes.
So most of the time, I'll, talk to client, people say, okay, we're doing Kanban, and I say, okay, show me what you do, right? And they have a big board, right? Very huge board, lots of card on the wall, and you look at the card, it's been in development for 200 days, and it's ask, okay, so it's been here for 200 days. And they were like, oh yeah, we started, but we forgot. Don't worry about it. It's not important anymore, right? There is no policy, there is no whip limit, right? And whip limit, that's the signal. Without whip limit, you don't have signal.
Mm.
So how do you know that the capacity available and you pull the next work?
Mm. Yeah, you need either the policies or so. Now, I want to say something to our
Mm.
Japanese friends. I hope I don't butcher it. Watashi wa kanban suki desu. Let me know in the comments if you're Japanese and I butchered that pronunciation. But yeah, I hope I got it right. So, Orod, what are those guiding principles? So, what I'm hearing is visualizing the flow of work,
Mm.
explicit policies, including WIP limits.
Mhm.
What else?
So there are six practices. Okay. One is visualizing the work and workflow. Okay. Limit the work. That helps us to focus on finishing the work rather than starting the work. Okay. So stop
Stop starting and
starting,
start
start
finishing.
finishing.
Yes.
Yeah, that's what David Anderson said. I would tell everyone that, just print it out, stick it somewhere,
Love it.
not at work, even in your life, right? Rather than just start working and half cook work and pull another work and start focusing on something else. Just get things out of your way and then focus on the next one. That's the second practices. The other one is manage the flow. So, in Kanban, we have a customer which has a need. And then this customer need, it goes through the service delivery. So we have a team or service delivery to work on the requirement and need and fulfill it. So we need to manage the flow and then make policies explicit. So visualize the policies, agree on the policy, make sure everyone clear about the policy. Implement a feedback loop. That's another practice. So we continuously, look and see how we can improve and improve collectively together and evolve experimentally. So we
Mhm.
evolve gradually. And I think that's a beauty of Kanban. And that helps um, people accept Kanban a lot easier than, other agile, not other agile, but, agile frameworks. Because agile frameworks, someone come and say, okay, whatever you've done before, it was wrong. I know how to do. So from tomorrow, we work like that. And then people become uncomfortable and resist. And probably, you know more than me, but a lot of experiments that we have with Scrum and other framework, it failed
Hmm.
because people just resist, right? You know, sometimes I'm at the moment working with people that they working together for like 20, 30 years. So
Yes.
this is their identity. You can't just come and say, all right, from tomorrow you work completely differently, right? You can't take someone's identity after 20, 30 years. The person, spent all his or her life to achieve what he achieved today.
And they're proud of it.
They're proud of it. Yes, of course
Yeah.
they are. And someone who probably hasn't even, written one line of code come and say, okay, whatever you've done is wrong and you don't know what to do. I know everything. Follow me. Right? And people say who you are, right? Forget about
Yes.
it. And they fail. And they
Yes.
just, it cost company, it cost, people, and you don't
Mhm.
achieve anything really.
Yeah. I mean, love it. Love it. Absolutely. Especially, when we have the title Agile Coach, sometimes it's easy to feel grandiose and say, hey, I'm the coach. I know what's right to do.
Mm.
But how do we know, right? Great, great point,
About
Orad.
this
Love it.
agile coach, it's a little bit off topic, but I think it's interesting and important. If you back to the vegetarianism metaphor, so I'm always thinking, okay, where is this agile coach fit in that example, right? So and I'm thinking some people maybe they don't want to go to the doctor or follow the prescription, but they can afford to have someone to help them and coach them to
Hmm.
you know, to find a better solution
Trainer.
for them,
Yeah.
right? You know what I'm saying? Something like
Yeah.
that. And then that person can help and guide you to go through this journey, right? On the other hand, I think you can have coaching approach to introduce Kanban
Mhm.
or Scrum or whatever. So rather than say, okay, this is Scrum, follow, 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 or this is safe, do whatever safe said, do it, do it, do it. And you can have a, approach of coaching as well
Yes.
and
Yes.
help people to understand the value and walk them through and help them and support them.
Hmm. Absolutely. I mean, that's what the true coach is. Even if you go to sports,
Mm,
coaches they support you, and their job is to make sure you unleash your full potential. Right? It's not to tell you do that, do that. You know.
that's right.
Yeah. Exactly. So now with Kanban, going back to that Scrum versus Kanban
Mm.
conversation, which a lot of people are having all the time. Which one do you think is harder to do? Is Scrum harder or Kanban?
Uh, so again, I think it's a invalid comparison because Scrum is a framework. It's an agile framework. Kanban is a method, right? It's completely different things. So comparing these two, it's not quite right. However, we can compare Scrum change management with Kanban change management, I think. I think that's something we can do, or safe change management and
Mhm,
Scrum and Kanban change management. So we can compare the change management. Um, Scrum and Safe, they have revolutionary approach.
mhm,
Okay, so they go somewhere, break everything, rebuild everything from scratch, do work completely differently, and then you get some achievement. Which I personally had really good experience with the Scrum as a developer and as a Scrum Master as well. So, uh, but depends on the maturity of the organization and how people work and stuff like that. Kanban has very different change management approach. Kanban has a evolutionary approach. Kanban always start from what you do now and then start change slowly together, right? And we can change, as we go and we grow, we learn more, we can change different things and we
mhm,
experiment. If it doesn't work, we try something else. So it doesn't necessarily tell you what to do, how to work. So uh, I personally think that, especially when we work with large organizations with very experienced people, I think Kanban change management um, it's acceptable. It's or more acceptable by people than
Yes.
Scrum, because when you
Yes.
go, Scrum is to break everything, rebuild
Mhm.
everything.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. Now, before we finish, tell me a little bit about the roles in Kanban. Like, what is that? The optional roles, like the service delivery manager, and what's the other one? Signal manager, something like that. And then the cadences as well. The various
Mm,
strategy meeting, the 6 meetings that you
yeah.
could have.
So Kanban doesn't have any role. Okay, so whatever role you have, you can have it. Um, in terms of these say cadences. So if you
Yes.
remember that one of the practice of Kanban is to implement feedback loop. Okay, so there are multiple different type of feedback loop, like the Kanban board is one of them, metrics and reports another, because in Kanban we measure a lot of things. And another one is cadences. Cadences have we have two type of cadence. One is meeting, so it's basically the service delivery cadence. So it's about day-to-day delivery. Okay, how work is going, if everything okay, is anyone needs any help or whatever, right? The other is the review cadence. So it's basically for improvement. And Kanban has, 6 different level of maturity. And as you grow and as you become more mature, you probably need more feedback loop. Okay.
Yes.
So, and
Release
you can
planning.
call them whatever you want to call them. A lot of organizations already have something similar to
Yes.
coordinate between different part of the organization, right? Because,
Absolutely.
in Kanban, if you remember, I said we have a customer and a service delivery team. And
Mhm.
when you look at this service delivery team always fulfill customer needs. And when you look at the organization, the organization is a network of these services,
Mhm.
right? So when you have low maturity, then you probably focus on one service. When you become more mature, then you focus on multiple services. So you need more cadence, more meeting to coordinate between multiple services.
Yes.
You can do it on any appropriate interval. So it doesn't have to be on the same interval like Scrum. Every 2 weeks you have this and that, or Scrum of Scrum and stuff like that. It can
Mhm.
happen based, on demand, or it can happen on the same cadence or same interval. Or basically, you can say, for now we do every week. When, a few months later, no, every week it's too much, maybe every fortnight.
Mhm. So, final question before we
Mhm.
finish. I can see a Kanban board behind you. What do you have on that board?
So, yes, Kanban, I don't know how much you can see. You can have Kanban, the service delivery I told can be one person, can be multiple people. Okay, so this is my personal Kanban system. I visualize different type of work item because customer has a need. Okay, and in Kanban we call it work item type, right? So for example, I have multiple customer, my family, myself is a customer, so I expect to do something from myself. Okay. Uh, the energy company, retailer, bills and stuff like that. They are another customer, so I need to pay
Yes,
them.
so you're not their customer; they are your customer.
They are my customer.
Yes.
Yes. Uh, and also, there are other stuff. So I use different code coloring to visualize different requests that comes to my personal system. And I gave basically a limit for each of them to make sure, first of all, I spend enough time on all rather than I focus on one customer and another customer, just become, just sacrifice another customer,
Yeah.
right? So make
Do you guys
sure that
work patterns?
everyone get a little bit.
Do you got work
And
classes and expedite lane and we
and you know,
implement
it's
in
very
policy?
interesting. Uh, Let me just. So
Ooh,
at
that's
the
a done part of
beginning, so
right.
this is done, right?
Oh,
So you can say I'm going overseas in 2 days, and that's a good sign. I've done most of the work. I have this one, actually, this is done yesterday, so that come here. This is also done. So the orange shows my extra work or whatever, right? This is the interview we have with you. See? Kanban
right now.
RH 2 p.m., 12 p.m. So that we can put it in done. And you know what really surprised me? The first time I built this one, green is my personal activity, personal fun activity, right? Melody, my daughter, come and she looked at the board and she said, "Oh, what is the green one?" And I put something there that said fun. And she looked at it and she said, "Oh, you have no fun." Because at that time I had no fun. And I said, "That's exactly what I want. I want to visualize what I have and what I don't have." And I
And
didn't
that's
have any fun.
brilliant. That's brilliant. If your daughter, 6 year old, how many years old is she?
She's 8 now.
8 year old. If your 8 year old daughter looking at your Kanban board immediately knows what's
Yeah,
going on in your life, imagine how would an organization benefit from
that's it.
visualizing
Yeah.
the work.
So, you know, the first step, visualize the work. When you visualize what you do, then you realize how much you do. And you do a lot more than you think.
Mhm.
I've practiced this one with a lot of different people, and every single time they surprise.
Yes, absolutely,
Just
absolutely.
start from that and see how you go.
Man, this was absolutely amazing. Really enjoyed our conversation. I hope you enjoyed it as well and the viewers as well.
No, it was really good, RS. Thanks for having me.
Thank you, Rod. So we are going to end it here. And remember, everyone, if you're watching this on LinkedIn, the best place to watch these videos are YouTube. So please subscribe to the YouTube channel as well so you get notified when the videos are released. Thank you so much, Rod, and thanks everyone for joining us.
Thank you.